Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Morgan. I am the knitter behind this YouTube channel and the emo knitter on Instagram. This is a YouTube channel where I primarily talk about what I'm knitting. I show finished projects and things that I'm planning on casting on in the future in a traditional knitting podcast style. But today I wanted to share with you my knitting goals and plans for 2025. So I hope that you will enjoy this. Again, my name is Morgan. I am a knitter just outside of Seattle, Washington, where I'm also a labor and delivery nurse, and I'm studying to become a certified personal trainer. I love to knit all of the things in my free time, and I have a lot of goals this year to pick up some new hobbies as well. So we will see what happens. But I wanted to start first by sharing some yarns that I'm hoping to work with. If you're not new here, you will know that I recently redid my craft room. I will be sharing the video of the renovation later this month, but I have a very large yarn stash, and so my goal for this year is to knit down my stash. So I'm hoping to really work on intentionally choosing projects that I already have yarn for and that will fit in my wardrobe. I tend to go for more basic knits. That's what I wear the most, and I'm excited to really dive into that and be more mindful in my making this year. So I grabbed a few yarns from my stash and I'm going to go through them. These are ones that I'm really hoping to knit up this year, and I'm going to talk about the patterns that I have picked out for them, and then some other patterns that have been on my eye or in my eye, things that I would love to make in the next year. I am not doing a make 9. I don't like to put myself in a box, and I know that there will be new patterns released this year that I'm going to want to cast on, and my style and my choices may change throughout the year, so I'm not putting any pressure on myself to knit 9 specific objects, but I will share the patterns that I'm hoping to get around to at some point in the near future, and then some just kind of general goals for the year. So let's start off with some yarns that I would love to use this year. These are again all from stash. I have a sweater quantity of this boucle yarn by Explore Knits and Fibers. This colorway is called Shiitake, and this is her boucle DK, which is 100% superwash merino. I am hoping to knit a sweater out of this, and I have a couple of patterns that I'm thinking of. One of them is the Simplicity Jumper by Norgard Knitters. This is I believe it's top down garter stitch, like really flowy sweater, and the sample photos in the pattern are not knit with boucle yarn, but I think that it would look really nice in this with the garter stitch, and I'm just really enjoying this color. I also have been looking at sweater number 24 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which is knitted in boucle yarn in the sample photos, but I believe it's a different weight of boucle yarn, so I'll have to do gauge swatches. Another one of my goals for this year is to always do a gauge swatch, and I'll talk about why when we get a little bit further into this video. But yeah, I would love to use up some boucle yarn, and this colorway is one that I see myself wearing a lot. Another yarn that I would really like to work with this year is this yarn by the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. This is Odang DK, and the colorway is called Legend. This is 10% silk and 90% Surrey alpaca, and I've shared this before in my channel, and I think that this is a yarn that got kind of popular over fall this year, but it's a DK weight Surrey, and I would love to make the Broom Sweater by Andrea Mowry. This is the yarn that she uses in her original sample photos for the pattern, and I think that I would love a like squishy black sweater to wear in fall and winter. So this is something that I'm hoping on casting on in the near future. This and another sweater are kind of at a toss-up for which one I'm going to cast on next, but I'm kind of leaning towards this because I really want a squishy black sweater in my life. And I know knitting with black yarn is going to be a pain, but I think I'm really going to enjoy it. One more, actually I have two more. Another yarn that I really want to work with is this Highland Wool by Hello Stella Fibers. This is a worsted weight. It's a 2-ply, and this colorway is called 01. It's 100% Canadian sheep's wool, and I just really love this yarn that Lindsay has been making lately. I actually have a few other colorways in my stash, and I'm looking at making the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which has some like very light color work in it, but I think that the colors that I have in this yarn would work really well, and I am dying to know what this feels like worked up in a sweater. So this is something that I see myself working up this year. Another yarn that I think would be really fun to work with is this alpaca wool. I went to an alpaca farm in Duval, Washington. I think it was called Enchanted Farms. I went in the fall and I had looked at their website and it didn't look like they sold yarn, but when we were there, I realized they did. So I bought some, and I would love to make a slip over with this. It is worsted weight. And I've never made a slip over before, but I think that I don't have enough for a full sweater, and I'm intrigued by the idea of a slip over. I think slip overs look really cute over like long sleeve t-shirts and turtlenecks, and I think that that's something that I would wear. The two patterns that I'm looking at are the Edgar slip over by Johanna Garish, which is a really pretty one. That one is a v-neck, and I'm not sure if that's the style I'm going for. I may want to do more of like a round O-neck, just with the intention of wearing it under or wearing it over like turtlenecks and long sleeves. But I think that I may just like do some research and see like what kind of pictures I can find on Pinterest of v-neck or v-neck vests with turtlenecks, and that may change my mind. My backup plan is the Terrazzo by Petite Knit. This is a like super simple split hem slip over that has a turtleneck, but I would omit the turtleneck and just make it like a regular, maybe folded over collar, maybe. But we're gonna see what happens. But this is just 100% alpaca, and it's undyed and hand spun, and I just think that that's really fun. So I would love to work with this year. And then the last one I would love to work with is this Woolberry Fiber Co. It's linen. So this is the color Toffee Chip. It's berry linen, 50% alpaca, 25% linen, and 25% silk. And you guys, this yarn is so soft. I like can't even believe it. I really want to make a, what's the pattern? A cumulus blouse with this. Probably a short sleeve that I can wear in the summer, but I would really love to work with this yarn. And so you can see my color theme. I am really diving into my neutral loving heart this year to make things that I know I will wear in colors that I love. So that's part of my intentional knitting. Some other patterns that I just kind of wanted to run through that I've been looking at recently. A big one in my to make list is the Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordland. I have bought this yarn. This is Coast to Coast Yarn Co. This is her natural worsted in the color Cuppa. I bought this yarn a while ago from her Fantasy Coffee House collection, and I bought 5 skeins, I think, so that I can make the Book Club cardigan. But then I was seeing online that like everyone is running out of yarn for this sweater, and I'm really nervous that it wasn't going to be enough. I wasn't going to have enough. And so I recently reached out to Erin, who is the dyer behind Coast to Coast Yarn Co., to get some more yarn. So she is dyeing me up some more Cuppa on natural worsted, and I'm really excited because that means that I can cast this on and confidently know that I will have enough yarn. And then if I have leftovers, I'll find something to do with them. I would always rather have more than not enough. So that's one of the sweater patterns that I would love to make. Another one that has been very high on my list is the Road Sweater by Ozetta. This is a very simple, like rolled hem sweater. I've talked about it several times on this channel, so I apologize if you're sick of hearing me talk about it and are just like, cast the dang thing on already, because I feel you. This is the sweater that is a toss-up between like my next cast on, the Road Sweater or the Broom Sweater. I got this yarn at Sacred Sheep. This is Woolfolk yarn. It is their far yarn. And the colorway number is 44. So I am either going to cast on the road sweater with this or the broom sweater with this at some point in the very near future. I have one pullover on my needles right now, but it's on hold right now. I am doing a buddy knit with a friend and we're gonna pick up a sleeve together, but like timing wise, we don't really have time to do that anytime soon, and so it's on pause, and I would love to have a simple stockinette project to work on in between all of my other things. If you would like to know what else I'm working on, you can watch my latest podcast episode, but I'm wanting something that's a little bit more like simple, and I want to knit on a pullover that's in the round. So one of these two will be cast on very shortly. If you have knit either one of them, please let me know what you thought. Maybe you'll sway me one way or the other. Other patterns that I've been wanting to cast on, the Jethro Cardigan by Tanis Lavalley. This is a pattern that's a cardigan. It combines crochet and knitting, and you'll remember I talked about obtaining some yarn at Flock Fiber Festival this year from Yarn Nouveau, and I am like really itching to cast that on as well. So it's basically a granny square vest, and then you pick up and knit stitches for the sleeves and the button band, and it's just so pretty, and the colors I have picked out are nice and dark and moody. I've contemplated this for my Halloween sweater this year, but I also have been looking at the Witching Hour sweater by Dear Ingenue as my Halloween sweater. This is a like top-down raglan colorwork sweater that has raven skulls on them. And I can really see myself wearing that, not just for Halloween, but for football season. So I'm kind of in a toss-up for those two for my Halloween sweater this year. And we'll just see what makes its way onto my needles and hooks. Another new pattern that I've really been interested in is the Dagmar Zipper sweater by Petite Knit. She released the Dagmar Cardigan first, and I love the like really deep cables in that pattern, but I didn't love the cardigan. And then she released it in a pullover, and I also didn't love that. But then she released the quarter zip, and I was like, holy smokes, I need this in my life. It's such a beautiful cabled sweater, and it would be a new challenge to sew a zipper into something. I don't sew. I would love to learn to quilt one day, but that's not anything that I have in my future plans in the near future. But I think that it would be a really fun challenge, and I don't know if I'll get around to it this year, but it's something that's on my radar for sure. Another pattern that really has my eye lately is the La Rentre by Sonder Yarn Co. This is also a top-down construction. It's basically just stockinette with rolled hem, but it is holding lace weight double, and I got this classic Surrey from Witchfire Fibers recently in the color Witchwood, and I think that I would wear this in a sweater like every single day. I think you would have to like pry it off of my body in this color because it matches everything. And I love this. I always call it ugly green, and I don't mean it because it's not ugly green. I love it, but it is. You know what I mean? I think that I would really get a lot of wear out of it. The only thing holding me back is knitting a lace weight held double sweater. But it is on my TBK, my to be knit list. But as you will find, there isn't very much that's not on my to be knit list. Okay, anyways, another sweater. This one actually I had pulled off of my shelf because I thought I was going to cast it on soon. And then a friend of mine wants to cast on the balloon cardigan, which I'm working on currently. And it starts with a button band, a double knit button band, and you pick up sleeves and knit the back, and you like knit the cardigan concurrently with the button band. And so I needed to cast something on with a similar construction. So I think that I'm going to cast on the Oversized Seasons cardigan by Ozetta, which is a gorgeous pattern. If you've been watching my channel for the last few podcast episodes, you'll see that I've been wearing or knitting on a lot of mini seasons sweaters for my friends' babies, and I have loved knitting that pattern. It's half fisherman's rib and it's just really fun to work up, especially when knit flat. So I think that knitting this oversized cardigan would be really fun. And I have a few different yarn options in my stash that I could use for it in neutral colors, and I think I would get a lot of use out of it. But that pushes aside this project, which is the I say Eva Cardigan, but I feel like a lot of people say Eva Cardigan. It's EVA, Eva, in my opinion. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The Eva Cardigan by Petite Knit, and I picked up this yarn at Sacred Sheep. This is Farmer's Daughter's Fibers in the color Y Johnny Ringo. It's a Pishkun. It is a worsted weight, and it's 100% Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet. And I just really enjoy this color. I'll hold up all of these colors together in a minute and you'll see that I'm very easy to, like, I gravitate towards this palette. Very neutral, very moody, ugly greens. This is my vibe. So we're diving into that. The last pattern that has my eye is actually one that I started, and I don't have it nearby, but it's the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan by Katrin Seeberger. If you watch my last podcast episode, you'll see that I found my color palette, and it's actually right here, so I might as well just show you. Oh no. This is my color palette. Well, it's most of the colors for that pattern. I'm doing like a very like brown, purpley vibe. And I have made up one square so far. Each square takes me quite a while to knit up, so I am just, as soon as I cast on the next one, I know I'll work on it, but casting on is the hardest part for me for some reason right now. But maybe I'll do that today. Anyways, this is a beautiful, beautiful quilt square cardigan. You knit a bunch of different quilt squares, you seam them together, and then you pick up stitches for the sleeves and the button band, and it's just like very like fall to me. So I would love to have this cardigan finished in fall of 2025 this year, so that I can wear it like everywhere basically. And I think that that would be really fun. One of my goals for this year is to do the year of socks. I've talked about this several times, so I won't go into too many details, but I am planning on knitting one pair of socks every month this year. And I am not planning it out in advance. Again, I don't like to put myself in a box. I like to be able to choose a yarn that I really want to work with or a pattern that I really want to work up and do that for the month. So this month I knew that I wanted to use this colorway that was in the Explore Knits and Fibers Winter Solstice box. It's just a really pretty like lavender color. And it is called Visualization. And again, this is Explore Knits and Fibers. And I actually started the first sock yesterday, and I knit the cuff and some of the pattern actually. So here's what it's looking like. The pattern that I'm using is from the book of the Knitter's Book of Socks. And the pattern I'm using is called Firefly, and the designer is Jennifer Hagen. And it's hard to get a good, oh no, my needle just fell out. It's hard to get a good, there's not a great picture in here of these socks, but they are ribbed, or cabled, sorry. See if that's better. But they're cabled, and I think they're really like simple and beautiful, and so I wanted a like light cabled pattern for this yarn, and I think that they're working up really well. So I am excited to continue to work on these. So yeah, I plan to do a year of socks, and I'm kind of filming my journey along the way each month, and I'm planning on posting on Instagram a little video of the pattern and the yarn and the process every month. Another one of my goals is to be a little bit more consistent in terms of making and to try to grow my social media avenues, I guess. I would love to be a little bit more active on Instagram, posting more and commenting on people's posts and just like kind of getting back into the community and making some fiber friends. I'd also love to be a little bit more active on here, try and post a few times a month. Again, I am in grad school, so I am not putting huge expectations on myself, but if I can post like a couple videos a month, that would be super ideal. We'll see what happens when my next quarter starts in a week or so. Another goal for myself is I want to learn how to spin this year. I found a drop spindle. It's actually up here. I don't know if you can see it. I found a drop spindle when I was kind of going through this room and kind of clearing things out, getting rid of things that I wasn't going to use. I had no idea that I had a drop spindle, and now that I've found it, I really want to learn how to use it. So that's definitely a goal of mine this year. I have seen a cute little like electric spinning wheel online, and it's like 120 bucks or something like that. So we'll see how it goes with the drop spindle, and then maybe I'll get myself a little e-spinner this year too if I'm enjoying it, but we will see what happens. I just think it's really cool because 6 people can buy the same fiber dyed by the same artist and make 6 different skeins of yarn from it, and I think that that's a really special piece of this community, and it's a really special craft, and I would love to be able to do that. I don't really have an interest in dyeing yarn at all, but I do have an interest in making yarn with really beautiful dyed fiber. So we'll see where I go. I need to grab something for my next goal that I forgot to pick out before I started recording, so give me a sec. Another goal that I have for the year 2025 is to frog one of the projects from 2024 that did not work out and rework it with the same yarn. There are 2 projects that I am speaking of in particular. The first one is my Hour Pullover by Sari Nordland, which I knit up early this year. And it's such a shame because I really do love this sweater and I love the pattern, but it is way too big. It's way too big. It's a bottom up construction, which is not my favorite, and I just knitted everything way too long. But also there were a certain amount of decreases that you needed to do on the sleeve, and I did those decreases and then picked up, like put everything together to knit in the round. So maybe it's the wrong size, that's my problem. I don't know. I probably also didn't gauge swatch, but this one definitely needs to be frogged. It is a fingering weight held with a mohair, so my plan is to put it in the freezer, which is a tip that I learned from Andrew Mowry. Put it in the freezer for like a day or 2, and then frog it together, because I think that I'll work something new holding these together, because I really do love the way that this worked up. This was Ampersand Fibers. I think I have it in here actually. Very beginning of this knitting journal actually. It might be like the first, yes, here it is. So I started this February 25th of last year and finished on July 2nd. So this has been finished and unused for a long time. But I knitted it using Ampersand Fibers, Cast On Fingering, and Oat 01, held with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Hazel. And I do really love the way that these marled together, so I think that when I frog it, I'll frog them together and work a different pattern with this. Maybe something top down, like something simple, maybe like the November Sweater by Petite Knit, which is a really popular pattern and I've never made it before. That might be where I go with this. But I'm actually leaning more towards frogging this sweater, which was a test knit. This is the Clara sweater. It is still unreleased and I'm not really sure when and if it will be released. It was supposed to be released in November, but the designer is either in med school or is a physician practicing, and I think just has a really busy life and hasn't gotten around to finishing this up. But I reworked the neckband to make it a rolled collar, which I hate. I don't like the way it fits. And then these cables in the back are just way too tight. and I like can hardly move my arms when I put this sweater on. I do really love all of the hem details. It's cables. It's a 4-stitch cable, so 2/2 on all of the ribs, and then as well as kind of down the main body of the sweater. And it's really pretty. It just like really doesn't fit me well. So again, this is a fingering weight held with a mohair or a Surrey. Let me look. I used Red Stag Fiber Dasha sock in antique leather held with Magpie Fibers Plume, which is a lace weight in Evil Beaver. And I do really, really, really love this color. And the plume has cashmere in it, I believe. Yeah, 75% cashmere, 35% silk. So this is a very, very, very soft, squishy, delightful sweater. It doesn't fit me. So I will also be putting this in the freezer to frog it. And I am thinking about making the Winnie sweater. I don't know if I have the designer. Would love to make that sweater, but I would love to frog this and make the Winnie sweater. So that is my goal, and I love this yarn just a little bit more than I love this yarn, so I think I'm going to do this one first, and that's going to be my 2025 goal. And if I end up getting to both of them, mohair in my mouth, sorry. If I end up getting to both of them, that's awesome, but we don't put pressure on ourselves, okay? What else is in my goals? Well, my biggest goal is to knit down this stash because it's insane, and I'm okay with that. I love looking at it. If I never use it all in my lifetime, I'm okay with that because I love looking at it. But I would love to knit some sweaters from stash this year. I haven't really set a like goal in terms of like how many, especially because there's already some that I have on my needles, but I would love to knit like 5 for 2025, 5 sweaters using stash yarn this year. And I think that that would be nice. I think that that would be nice. Let's do that. Let's do 5 sweaters this year. I listed way more than 5 sweaters in this video, so hopefully I will make 5 of those up. And then lastly, I just want to be more mindful. I talked about this a little bit more in the beginning. I would like to be more mindful with my pattern choices. I did quite a bit of test knitting this year, and both of the sweater and the cardigan that I test knitted are not objects that I'm going to be wearing. So I think that I am going to step back from test knitting sweaters at least and be a little bit more intentional in what I want to make and really look at something and know whether or not it's going to fit in my style. Do I have things that I can wear with it? Does it fit in my wardrobe? And if the answer to either of those questions is no, then I need to pick a different pattern. I want to be a lot more mindful, and I want to be also more mindful in my yarn purchasing. I'm really, really hoping to not buy a ton of yarn this year. I have set kind of an arbitrary goal in my brain that I like won't buy new yarn online. But I do plan on going to Flock Fiber Festival again this year, so I may pick out a sweater that I want to get the yarn for. Like if I decide to do the witching hour sweater for Halloween, I don't have yarn for that in my stash right now, so that may be something that I buy. And if not, just like kind of trinket things when I go. Like you can never have too many stitch markers or project bags, you know what I mean? So I would love to be just more intentional and more mindful about what I'm buying and what I'm creating. So here we are. These are some yarns I would love to use. I obviously won't get to all of them, but that's okay. There's new things that'll probably come up in my queue. There's life things that'll happen, and I'm okay with just kind of taking it as it goes. Again, I'm not making a make 9. I don't want to put myself in a box. I don't want to put pressure on myself to make the specific things that I set for in January, because I may not want to knit them in November. But I would love to be more intentional, be more mindful, knit down my stash, and rework some unsuccessful projects from last year instead of letting the yarn just waste away. I hope you enjoyed this content. I would love to hear what you are planning on knitting or what your goals in terms of fiber arts are for 2025. Please feel free to leave a comment and let me know, and I would love to chat kind of back and forth with you about what you're planning on making, and I'd also love to see it. If you enjoy my content, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Again, I'm trying to be more present here in the new year. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And I am excited to dive kind of headfirst into this community and make some friends. So yeah, I hope that you had a great New Year's, and I will see you in the next episode. Happy knitting!